Got a letter from my HOA this morning with a photo of my trash can at the end of my driveway. The timestamp on the photo? 8:07 p.m. Trash pickup is the next day, like it has been every Tuesday for the past 3 years. Apparently, putting your trash out the night before is a violation of neighborhood aesthetic standards. So, just to clarify, they want me to wake up at 5 a.m., roll it to the curb in complete silence, and hope the garbage truck shows up before the violation patrol does a second photo shoot. I didn't realize I was paying $300 a month to get shamed by a suburban paparazzi. So I'm 17. I'm a rowdy teenager. I got a fine last week for playing Buck Cherry in my garage while cleaning my car. Mind you, it was past 10 a.m. and was not cranked all the way, just enough so I could hear it. We have a new HOA president, and this guy icks me. He lectured me about how I'm corrupting the minds of individuals and bringing the devil into the neighborhood etc. Oh, and it's not just Buck Cherry ITS, any rock, blues, anything non-Christian station, literally Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses and Eric Church I've been lectured for. Something about unsafe environments. It's feeling like Footloose. It's not a public disturbance, and half the time me and my neighbors are hanging out in the drive listening to it, so I know it's not them complaining. Low-key just cannot afford another fine, and I don't want my parents to face consequences for me having a decent taste in music. I am honestly tempted to go catch the president driving 80 in the neighborhood when there's kids playing in the road, but I don't know, screw the HOA to be honest. My awesome music taste does not consist of Buck Cherry exclusively. I have a station my parents make me pay for the fines with my own money. I make sure the music is quiet enough. You can't hear across the streets unless we're all okay, and it's a cookout day with the whole street. I got a violation letter in the mail today saying I must remove my motorcycle from my property. My motorcycle is stored in my garage and has never been parked and stored outside ever. We live in a condo. I've had a couple different bikes the past 2 years and just bought a brand new one, financed, so it's not like I can just get rid of the bike easily. I just got the letter today and it says I only have 5 days to comply. I just read through the whole condo bylaws packet, and yes, it does say motorcycles, among other things, are prohibited on the property. Bad on me for not knowing this, but it does say you can seek for written permission from the board for an exemption. I never speed race around. My bike is stock with stock exhaust and is quieter than some neighbours' cars, and once again I store it inside my garage. I've always been so cordial to our neighbours and even bought this specific bike because it's relatively quiet with the stock exhaust. I think I know who snitched too, because I asked our neighbour a couple units down, who I know is on the board, about the letter, and she was being very mysterious and saying, well, the rules do say you can't have a motorcycle. We live in a condo and began receiving $100 fines for not picking up dog poop. The area behind our building is a common area, and lots of people walk their dogs around. I offered to submit DNA testing for my dogs, and they ignored me and continued to send notices of fines. I began taking my phone with me on every walk and took photos and videos of me picking up poop with timestamp evidence. I sent a folder full of photos to the HOA with photographic evidence that I was picking up after my dogs. We continued to receive fines. I got a small trash can and kept on my patio and began saving my bags of dog poop for 2 weeks. I did tie the bags, but they were still obviously smelly as poop bags are very thin plastic. I then mailed a box of poop to the HOA office, along with copies of time-stamped photos showing I had picked it up. I told them that I had better not ever receive another fine for dog poop because I had provided more than sufficient evidence that it wasn't us. Miraculously, the fines stopped, and we haven't received any for over 2 years. I moved into Whispering Cedars because of the peaceful name. That should have been the first red flag. Nothing named Whispering is ever peaceful. By week 2, I had received my first notice of non-compliance. Apparently, my mailbox post was painted eggshell instead of antique bone. I tried to explain that they looked the same in daylight. The committee sent me a paint swatch with a magnifying glass and a passive-aggressive Bible verse about obedience. Then came the flamingos. It started with one. My daughter stuck a pink plastic flamingo in our front lawn for her 7th birthday. It made her laugh. That same night, I found a printed photo in my mailbox of our house circled in red ink with the words, "Immediate removal required." Article 4, Section 6. No ornamental birds, scrawled on the back in Sharpie. I ignored it. That was my second mistake. Within 48 hours, the flamingo disappeared. In its place was a single white golf ball with a note taped to it. "One ball per bird. Keep going and you'll see what a flock feels like." We had no idea what it meant. By the end of the week, the HOA president, Mrs. Calloway, knocked on my door at exactly 6:03 p.m., wearing a visor and holding a clipboard like it was a weapon. She smiled like a crocodile who just joined a book club. "We pride ourselves on uniformity here," she said. "Your lawn sculpture disrupted the aesthetic symmetry of the cul-de-sac." I pointed to my neighbour's 12 garden gnomes. "Oh, those are grandfathered," she said, without blinking. I was fined $75 and received a mandatory referral to the Aesthetic Re-Education Committee. They meet in the community clubhouse every other Tuesday under fluorescent lighting and serve unseasoned hummus. That's when I snapped. I went to the dollar store and bought 40 flamingos, planted them at 3 a.m. like pink plastic sentinels. At sunrise, the neighborhood looked like a tropical war zone. The next morning, an emergency HOA meeting was called. The president demanded my presence. I arrived wearing a Hawaiian shirt, sipping from a coconut. They called it an act of ornamental aggression. I called it art. I was fined $2,400. I appealed. The appeal process involved a mock trial presided over by a man named Greg, who introduced himself as the design dictator. I lost the case before I even sat down. They thought they had broken me. But while I was fined and my flamingos outlawed, I was busy studying the bylaws. Not just the ones they showed new residents. All of them. The 1993 addendums. The archived meeting notes buried in the HOA's online portal under a dead link called Holiday Lights. Turns out, the Whispering Cedars HOA charter had a fatal flaw. If 75% of residents vote to dissolve the HOA, it dies. No one had tried. No one thought it was possible. The HOA had ruled for so long, people just accepted it, like humidity or leaf blowers. So I started knocking. At first, they were skeptical. But when I showed them the fines I'd paid, the flamingo they took from my daughter, and a photo of Mrs. Calloway's pool, which violated no fewer than 6 of her own regulations, people started listening. By week 2, the tide was turning. We became the silent 75%. We met in backyards. We whispered in dog parks. We formed a secret group chat called Operation Pink Dawn. The night before the vote, I planted 1 flamingo in each yard. A symbol. A warning. A promise. At the final meeting, Mrs. Calloway stood at her podium like a Roman senator in a cardigan. She began her usual speech about community cohesion and the sanctity of beige. That's when Greg, design dictator Greg, stood up and said, "Enough." He walked to the front and placed his clipboard on the ground. Then, one by one, everyone else followed. Retirees, parents, teenagers who'd been fined for skateboarding near the fountain. Even Mildred, who hadn't spoken since 2006, whispered, "Down with tyranny." The vote was counted, 93% to dissolve. Mrs. Calloway choked on her sugar-free Werthers. The bylaws activated like a magical curse breaking. Her power crumbled. Her clipboard turned to dust. Okay, that last part was metaphorical, but I swear the street got sunnier. The next morning, we celebrated. The flamingos were back, but this time in every yard. One wore sunglasses. One had a monocle. The gnomes and the birds finally coexisted in peace. We renamed the neighborhood Flamingo Hollow. No board, no fines, just neighbors. And me? I kept 1 flamingo on my lawn, always facing the old HOA office, as a reminder and a warning.